life. And so, just to share a little bit about him, he's going to be able to share a little bit of his story with you tonight. But he comes from a federal law enforcement background. He's also a poet, by the way. He's really, really good at words. He's very, very intelligent, very, very smart. He also has an amazing wife who's a doctor. She has her own television show, and she's traveling all over the world building her dreams. She just came out with an amazing book for women. And so they're doing some very, very great things all around the world and helping a lot of people build and develop assets. And so tonight I have the awesome privilege and honor of bringing to the stage my brother, my friend, somebody who's in the trenches, making it happen and coming to give you some information to help you make it happen. Let's give it up. Everybody stand to your feet and let's clap it up for Sam King.
How you guys doing tonight? Y'all good?
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure and an honor to be able to stand on this platform and be able to share some information with you guys tonight. As one of the awesome Diamond said, my name is Sam King. I'm also with Paula King. My wife should be in here in a minute. And we are sponsored by the Diamonds, Tony and Alice Rodriguez. And I'm just excited just to be alive and just to be here and be with you guys' presence. So I'm looking at all the guests. Like if you have a name tag on it, it's your first time, can you please raise your hand? Looks like we got 2 in the room. I think they got their hand. So it looks like we have Maureen. And so Maureen, if we can, what would you say, if you get a mic for, what exactly did you come here for tonight? What was you looking for to get, learn, gain? You have a mic? You can stand up.
Yes. 3 people so far.
Hi everyone, my name is Maureen, and I'm here to develop my financial, be educated financially first, and build my wealth, mixed with very intelligent team, and independent.
All right. Raise your hand. And we have one more over there, Mr. Xavier.
I'm here just to basically learn and to become a better person and to help the people around me and just to provide for my family and make a difference.
Okay, awesome. Y'all give me a hand, guys. You know, basically, you guys are in the room for the right reason. It's because what I heard you say was things that was in the arena of making a contribution instead of living a life of consumption. And that's what it's all about. A lot of times people will come and look at an opportunity and they want to know, what can it do for me? Or I'm going to see what it does for me or what you have to offer. But we're not here looking to offer anything to anybody. We're looking for people who have something to offer to the organization. Because the organization we represent is $1 billion company. So they don't need anybody's time. They don't need anybody's money. Basically, we're looking for people who want to bring their talents and their gifts to bring something to the table to make what we do work a lot better. And that's what it's all about, guys. It's about adding value. Because you guys have name tags on it, means that somebody saw value. Somebody said, I trust this person. I like this person. I can do life with this person. And that's the reason why you're in the room. So congratulations for getting this point. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we have someone on the digital campus, yes. So if we have guests for the first time on the digital campus, do you have that list, Shanae?
Yes.
Said yes?
Yeah. I do.
Okay, so Neil, if you can ask everybody who are guests, what exactly, why exactly are they on this webinar? What is it they're looking to learn and gain?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Are we clear on who the guests are?
Yes, you have Clyde Johnson,
Okay.
Margaret, she forgot to put her last name, I could catch up on that. And then Charles Reese has a potential partner. He hasn't registered him yet. And then you have Rachel Nelson.
Rachel Nelson's in WL. Okay, go ahead, Dougie.
Who
They
would
can
you
hear,
like?
they can
Yeah.
hear you, Sam. So if you just speak to
Oh, well, welcome Zoom campus. I thought they already had it lined up where we was going to talk about, what made you decide to come to this night. But I hope that you guys are coming to contribute to something, coming to add value to something, because we're definitely going to add value to you back. But we like mutual relationships. We don't like just take consumption, leech type relationships. So that's what we're here for, guys. So if you're here and you're on that for that reason, I hope you have a pen and paper, because you're going to get a lot of nuggets, a lot of value tonight. Everything may not be explained to you tonight, but get back with the person that invited you, and they're absolutely going to fill in all the gaps and clear out all the gray areas. So we're happy to have you guys with us, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get started. A little bit about my background as they're getting me going. Freedom. What do you think freedom is, Lorraine? Like when you hear freedom, just in your out loud, outside voice, what's that mean to you? So free just means to be free. Fulfilled? Okay, good. I'm going to share. So, in looking it up in the definition, it's a state in which someone is able to act and live as he or she chooses without being subject to any undue restraint or restriction. So who believes they have freedom right now? Besides, of course, Tony and I, and Dr. Johnny Hartley now. Okay? So this is when you can wake up every day when you want to wake up and do what you want to do and say what you want to say and go where you want to go. All right? That's what that is. It's when you don't be at work like, man, I want to go home, and it's like you're mandatory to stay. Or you have to ask somebody for permission to be off work a certain day to be with your family. That's not freedom. If you're waking up every day when you don't want to wake up, that's not freedom. This is personal freedom. Then there's another concept called financial freedom. It's a circumstance in which someone is able to give or get whatever he or she chooses without being subject to any undue restraint. So, personal freedom, financial freedom, two different things. And we're going to get down to the details of what that looks like, okay? Button here. So the agenda is going to be this. Okay. So why financial freedom for you? We're going to talk about that. We're going to go into who we were, who we are, who did we meet, what did they teach us, and how did it benefit us, and what are you looking for? And we just covered what you're looking for, so the rest of the stuff is going to be filled in. And I'm pressing it, and I'm waiting on it to move forward. So that's me and my wife, Paula, and we've been married now for 5 years. Met at the Walmart Fan Pavilion 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks from the time we met each other, we knew what was going to go down. I knew what was going to go down. And basically, 2 months after that time, I proposed to her. We got married. We've been happily married ever since. Our marriage would not be what it is today if it wasn't for this wonderful coaching and mentorship program, because they coach you in life and they mentor you in business. So it's a really, really wonderful thing. And we're going to kind of share with you a little bit about who we are, where we come from, if I can get this thing moved. Okay, it's moving. Baby gun. So my wife is an AKA. That's who you are. Wonderful. She was a valedictorian graduate at Howard University. She was a college professor. This is all when we were sitting where you guys are sitting. She's an emergency room physician. She's also, and she'll be here in a minute, by the way, she's a licensed minister. She does a lot of work in community service. She has her own TV show in Columbus, Georgia with Healthy Lifestyles with Dr. Paula. She just released a book called Lead Well last week. That was amazing. And she was actually Amazon's #1 seller above John Maxwell. So she did pretty good with that, right? For me, my background is in sports. I grew up in Noonan, Georgia. I was a team captain in track. I was in leadership. I was height challenged, so I had to work really hard and walk onto the Georgia Southern football team, and I did that as a cornerback, kick return, punt return. I did graduate. Everybody does not graduate, as you guys know. The party school, right? So I started a vending machine business. I got into real estate a little bit. Written a couple books here and there. Done some spoken word poetry, and I'm waiting on this to stay with me. There we go. So my first job was with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The economy crashed in 2008. I wrote some more books trying to rely on my craft. My parents both worked for the federal government, and so I went to federal law enforcement, basically not knowing what else to do. Now, the guy you see smiling today, do I look like that now? But that's what happens when you're just getting by, making a living, right? So that happened. So here's the situation here. And wish Oscar was doing this, it'd be so much better. So growing up, that's my dad, and he coached me and my brothers. And he grew up poor in the streets of Philadelphia, right? My mom grew up poor as well. But they grew up kind of middle, upper class, so to speak. And with them, his goal was for us to do better than he did. And this thing is beyond my mind. Here we go. So again, all three of my brothers, we all played sports, karate, track, everything you can imagine. 16 years of blood, sweat, and tears. My dad always, it was all good too. So my dad said, if one of you guys make it, all of you guys are going to make it. He said, if one of you make it, all you make it. What we never considered is what if nobody makes it. And so we all went to college and played. I played at Georgia Southern. My middle brother played at Ball State. The other younger brother played at Auburn University, but nobody went pro. And when you've dedicated 16 years of blood, sweat, and tears and cleats and Gatorade and Powerade and all that into a craft to become rich, we used to play, my younger brother played with Cam Newton. My middle brother played with Evander Holyfield's son. We used to go over their house and walk through the mansion and look around and look at all the cars. And we was friends with a guy named Ed Rush. Ed Rush was an NBA basketball referee. He used to referee when the Jordan was playing and stuff like that. And Ed Rush was a millionaire too. I didn't know those guys made that kind of money, but that's the kind of life he wanted us to visualize for ourselves. So that was a loss when I got a federal government job. But it was a win for my father because his dad worked in the plant where he would get constantly laid off over and over and over. So for him, that was a win. For me, that was a loss. Because you're supposed to do better than your parents, not do just as good as they did. Nobody wants your kids to do just as good or worse than they did. So that's what ended up happening to us. So my whole thought was this. I went on and got a job and it was all right, but I always wondered, how else do you get to the amazing lifestyle? How else do you get to what's about to come on the screen in a second when it actually obeys? There it is. All right, so like living like this, like do you think a job is going to let somebody live like that, guys? Yeah. And see, my wife is just as driven. She went and got 4 degrees, master's in public health. She's valedictorian, super ambitious on the treadmill. But again, you can only live so good working for somebody else trading time for money. Because what we didn't realize is that when you want to get rich, it's a conflict of interest with your boss. It's because their goal is to get rich and you're paid an operational cost. So when you work in the hospital or you work in a prison, here's what's going on. You cannot lock people away and just throw away the key with no staff working in there. You cannot just have sick people run a hospital but then have no nurses or doctors, right? You gotta have it. So here's what operational cost is for everyday people. When you have your light bill, your water bill, your gas bill, you want those expenses to be high or low? Low. You want them low, right? When you have your car, you have to pay car insurance and gas to operate a vehicle in America. Do you want those expenses to be high or low? Low. Low. So when you run a business, you want your expenses, which is salary and wages, to be low. So every time you ask your boss for a raise, you're really asking to cut into his profits. You're trying to take money out of his kids' mouths to put it in yours. And so he's wanting to know, what are you going to do to bring value? I was a correction officer going to work every day, making rounds. How is that making money? How is that generating income? How is that adding value to the company, except we're just a necessity? You got to have it, but that's all. And so then you're never going to get rich working for somebody else. That's the rule. Because when they have it, you're going to work for a dream. Like some people say, I'm not a dreamer. Well, if you're not building your dream, you're building someone else's dream. When they built Walmart, Kmart, all the stores, Chevron, Exxon, they never saw themselves in there or their family working. Ray Kroc never saw himself inside flipping burgers or his family. He saw himself on the beaches of the world. He didn't even care or even imagine who would be working in there. He just said other people. And so that's what happens when you work for somebody else. You become that other people. But I knew there was another way to get to that lifestyle. It can't just be football, basketball, baseball, track, and acting. It's got to be another way. It's legit. So that's when it comes down to who you met. Because they say it ain't what you know, it's who you know, right? And so that's what happened. So moving forward, this is the who we met situation. Probably the most important part of this whole slide is the who that you know. So we've put the book in the store on consignment, trying to spread our wings a little bit. Best day of my life, besides the day I met my wife, is when I met Mr. Tony Rodriguez right there. Tony was retired in his 30s. And that's not a myth, that's the truth. And the day I met him, I didn't know that. And I'm so glad me and Paula love taking pictures everywhere we go, because we got a chance to document our whole relationship. Our whole relationship is pretty much documented. But I met him that day. I was going to his house and trying to make money from day one. Now, this is a funny story. So I saw all these cars line up on the street, and I let the window down. I saw a nice gentleman in a suit that was once in this room. He's not here tonight right now. But I asked him what you guys had going on. He said, local entrepreneurship, like summit type situation. They said there was a couple that retired over there in their 30s, and they coach and mentor us to be able to create assets so we don't have to trade our life for a job. I was like, wow. I said, entrepreneurs. And at the time, let me be frank with you guys. Me and my wife, we thought we were the only African Americans in the neighborhood. We didn't know that there was nobody else that looked anywhere near like us in our neighborhood. So it was kind of comforting to see other people, but they said the last name was Rodriguez. So I still thought maybe Hispanic. But they were not Hispanic. When I went to the house, Tony was upstairs working with some people. I was downstairs meeting a couple people, making sales. So I made money from day one that I associated in this organization. Tony also bought my book. Isn't that right, Coach? And that was cool. So I made money from day one. I invited myself to my first meeting and didn't even know it. And it was so cool because when I met him, he was just such a nice guy. I mean, the way he looks is the way he is. It's just working in a prison in that environment and living under a father who worked in that environment. I was not used to people being nice, especially guys. Playing football, Carl played with me in college, and he knows we used to roast each other all the time to practice and on the way back. It was not a pleasant environment. It was people getting jumped in the locker room. It was crazy. So I was not used to this whole nice guy thing, but I was naturally a nice guy I was really more of a Shar-Pei that had to act like a pit bull because that was the environment I was in. But it wasn't really who I was. So when I met him, it was just so surreal. And I told my wife that night, I said, man, I have to get to know that man. I hope we can become friends. I'm going to call him. She said, he gave you a number? I said, yeah. I called him. It's not waiting a couple days. I called him. And I mean, it's busy. I thought he was in bed. Hey, is this Tony? Hey, is this Sam? I'm like, yeah, so how'd you know? He's like, I know your voice, man. And I said, so what are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm just chilling. You came over my house last time. You want to hang out? I'm like, sure. So he came to my house and then he shared with me what I'm about to share with you guys. 3 years ago, our life changed forever. So, cool thing is we became really good friends. His wife, Alice, who's an attorney, Tony was an Army officer and an engineer. They was able to walk away from good full-time paying professions. And they've been able to coach and mentor us to be able to make pretty much a credible asset. And we're going to talk about assets in a minute here. Creating an outside cash flow outside of our jobs. And it's been a great 3-year relationship. We've learned a lot about life and business. And so, guys, when you have a couple in your life that don't just like you because you're cool, but they also want to help you create an income, that's something that doesn't come around too often. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna share with you a lot of things that he taught us. And the slide will not obey like I do. But it's coming along and Dana. So here's the thing, guys. Working in a prison, I saw this. He showed me on the first day I met him after he shared the model with me that he got free from his job. That gentleman in the right with the glasses on, with the dark brown hair, that's Kevin Mel. That's his coach, that's his mentor. And he's financially independent at 30 years old. Is that right, Coach? 30, 31? 30? Yeah. And it says Tony Rodriguez is a free man. So what do you think I was thinking? And you work in a prison just like me. I'm gonna go with Xavier. He's a correction officer as well. So Xavier, what do you think as I walk out of the prison every day as a so-called free man? So when I see Tony Rodriguez as a free man, what do you think I'm thinking?
You're not free?
I'm not free?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm not free and I didn't know how. But I just knew I was not free. So, long story short, this was an incredible thing to me. When I saw the plan, I didn't fully understand it the first time. Probably understood about 10% of it. All I knew was the money increased over time. He had a big celebration. He was young with dark hair when he walked out of his 9 to 5. And I was looking at having white hair that looked like Christmas. And that was how I was going to walk out of my job, 56 like my mom and dad did. And I just said, that's not for me, but that right there is for me. That's how you go out. So I needed to understand what he did and how it worked. And the privileges I had a chance to have him coach and mentor me, be my good friend, and be my adult mentor in the right direction. Because trust me, all the mentorship I had prior to that relationship was all in the wrong direction. I don't know where I'd be today if it wasn't for this. So it goes back to Kevin Bell. Kevin was a captain in the Army. His wife, Beth, was a physician's assistant. They got financially independent in their 30s, and they're the ones that work with Coach Tony and helped him and his wife with an amazing asset. So they're the multi-millionaires. So that's what you have. I'm just a stand-in for these incredible human beings. Okay. So here's the thing. And this is very, very important, and I'm so glad that I have this. This is so great. So, have anybody heard of Harriet Tubman? Anybody? Besides me? You heard of Harriet Tubman? Xavier, you heard of Harriet Tubman? Right. Who's really, really versed on Harriet Tubman? Anybody? Okay, can you give a brief explanation of who Harriet Tubman was and what she did?
Yeah, we have a mic. Thank you. Harriet Tubman was a freedom fighter. She fought to free slaves to move from the south to the north so that they could be free.
Correct? Absolutely. Give her a hand, guys. So she was a freedom fighter that got her freedom and went back, risked her life to help other people get free. Okay? And so imagine this. Imagine you're on a plantation, you're in slavery. And I found out there's another term called economic slavery, which I was subjected to, by the way. And so imagine you looking out there and you know that these dots represent challenges internally and externally. But that's all. You live in America. You live in the land of opportunity. So to you, it's not that hard to get out. I mean, you can get out if you want to. That's what you really think, right? You think you can get out if you really want to. So you can go all these ways. But see, these are the ways you can foresee. But that coach and that mentor in the blue there, they know there's a whole lot more. Imagine you have a minefield, and then those are bombs under the ground. But imagine it's really more like this right here. Imagine you have that many bumps in the ground, and those are bombs. And if you go across there, you're going to get blown up. So you're only aware of 6 possibilities that it won't work or you won't survive. And in reality, this is what's going on. And then you're telling this mentor who's saying, hey, I've been to the north and I know how to help you get free. This is how you do it. I have a path. I have a way to do it. And you're like, well, this can't be the only way. And you're like, I know it's not the only way, but it's the way that I know. It's the only way that I've been. And it's the only way that I trust. Because in my life, I've done it. Because what I've learned is my last name is not Zuckerberg. My last name is not Trump. I'm not none of those people. This is the way that me and my wife have been able to create the most substantial financial passive income stream that we ever have in our life. Beyond real estate, beyond books, and all that other stuff. This is the way. So what we're saying is we're not saying it's the only way. I'm sure you can come up here and draw another way, but I'd rather listen to somebody who has the experience. Tony and Rodriguez got the experience, they've done it, and they've helped many other people create this type of asset. So that's what we're talking about, is following somebody who has a proven path and not becoming an entrepreneur like that. There's a lot of ways to become an entrepreneur. The way you can become an entrepreneur is you start to follow them and you deviate from the path. There's something called the 9 core steps. And if you follow those 9 core steps, you won't be one of those hundreds of entrepreneurs that tried all these other things and it didn't work out, or they start on this path and they try to figure out another way. So, hope that kind of resonates a little bit. So the next most important thing is, what did they teach us? Now the first thing is this, there's another thing that Harriet Tubman said. She said, I freed 1,000 slaves and I could have freed 1,000 more slaves if they only knew that they were slaves. So how in the world, back in the day, when people was hanging and get towed up and all kinds of stuff, how do you not know you're a slave? But Carl, answer that for me, please. How do you not know that you're a slave in times like that? Brainwashed. Do you think that still exists today? Because sometimes people think the norm is just the way it is, when that was just the way it was. It didn't have to be that way. So basically what they had to do is, Tony knew, okay, Sam is in federal law enforcement, has a government job, but retired. His wife is a medical doctor, she has a TV show, she's a college professor. So how in the world do you get people like that who've worked so long and went in debt to become what they were? How do you get them to want to leave that one day to be financially independent? How do you tell them they're not financially independent? When they think that financial independence when you moved out your parents' house. They think that's what financial independence is, right? So they don't even know what that really means. They don't know the difference between financial independence and financial freedom. So it comes down to the matrix. They let me know, they first had to make sure that, look, if you start this journey with us, if we're going to coach and mentor you, you got to be willing to go all the way. And if you're not going to be all in and absolute about it, then don't even start. Because that won't make it. It's not like 99% is going to work. It's either 100% or nothing at all. So they was very clear with me and my wife about what it took to make it. But the first thing is they said, okay, this guy's only been told, get a good job with benefits and retirement. They knew that we didn't, because they've done it so much, they knew that we weren't told the cons. You're going to see the cons in a minute. If we really understood the cons of where we was at, we would never want to stay where we were at. So you get the 40-40-40 plan. It's where you work 40 hours a week or more for 40 years or more to retire on 40% or less what you work for. I kept asking him, what is this plan? What is this plan that you have? He was like, do you really know the plan you have already? The one you had by default. And then you got 40 hours a week or more if you don't have a government job. You work for 60 years to retire on 15% of what you work for your whole life. Right. So an adult with no income and a child in a state of existence, they have time and energy, but they don't have any money. So all the inmates I had was like that. And then a lot of people are like that. Then you got a working to live person that has money, energy, but they don't have any time. And if you're not working to live, then you're living to work. That means you don't have any time. You don't have much money because you check the check, and you don't have much energy because you're just working so much. And then you retire from a job. So the whole point of working is to what? Retire. Funny thing, I was talking to a guy today. He mentioned to me that he believed that God created him to be a fireman. That's what he said to me. And what I told him is, I said, well, you know, firemen as a profession came around in like 1821, because while he was talking on the phone, I Googled that. And so I was like, yeah, so God started creating firemen in 1821, but what happened all the years before? You know, I said before, if a person's house was on fire, it was a community's responsibility to put that fire out, right? But then you just got into a job. I said, same way, when people got in trouble, people always got in trouble. But correction officers the position was created by people. You're not created to do anything. And if that's what you're created for, then what happens when you retire? Are you not living a life on purpose? You know? And so the thing is, when you're an adult with no income and you're in a child, you're in a state of existence, you're eating every day. And you don't have to work. You're living under someone's roof every day. And you wake up when your eyes open every day. That's what's happening when you're a child, and that's what happens when you get old. But all that stuff in between, you're working for somebody else. You're being used and tools. And so that's one thing that we learned from what they told us. And then when you retired, you got your time, you lost 60% of your income, and you did not have the energy you did at 25, 35, 45, then you died. And they asked me, how bad do you want to get out of that? Because if you're okay with this, then we're done. But the bottom line is I was not okay with this whatsoever. This obliterated my mindset. I didn't want to have a near-life experience. And so I wanted to live life on the terms they had it. And this is what's going on. Economically, people getting beat up, they're losing. And what Coach Tony did is he actually related to me from an athletic standpoint. He said, you know what winning in life looks like for real? I'm like, yeah, won track, I won football. I always had good teams. He's like, yeah, okay. So you work for, as an athlete, you work for numbers called points, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, employees work for numbers called dollars. So at the end of the game, when you have a scoreboard, you got over here, you got over here. If you take more home, if you got the home team got more points and you're the home team, you won. If it's 50 over here and 30 over here, you won over here, right? So he said, at the end of the day, it's a fight. Every month, it's a fight. The shot clock starts over at the end of every 30 days. So you're trying to generate points. So when you're generating these dollars, do you have most of the money that you work for, or does other people have it? And when I looked at the situation, I looked at my income, and I looked at my outgo, and I did the subtraction, I was losing economic every month. And I was been taught that losing was winning if you're saving, but it's not. Just because you score points doesn't mean you're winning. Wow. So here's an example. If you make $4,000 a month net income, and your bills are $3,000 a month, and you're blessed to save $1,000 a month. By the way, most people don't do that. But if you're able to do that, you're losing. You paid out $3,000 a month, you only saved $1,000. That's loss. In every sport, it's that. We know that. But in money, we just forget that. Now, let's say you're making $8,000 a month, and your bills are $2,000 a month. So then you're saving $6,000 a month. That's called winning. And so I was not in a system where I could win. And then here's what happens. In order for me to win, I got to take away from my wife and my son. Because I got to spend all this time working overtime 5 days a week just to make that a reality. And so that's not going to work. So this is an abusive relationship. That's what I was in, an abusive. Now, how many of you guys heard of people where the woman's getting beat up and she's like, he loved me. But you're getting beat up and she won't leave. They told me if you're like that, Sam, we can't help you. If you're so used to losing that you just accepted it, and if you're used to dysfunction in that way, Mr. Rodriguez said, we can't help you, Sam. Because people drive cars all the time with dents and cracks in the window. And they didn't have like when they first got it, but then they keep it. And it's okay if it's the first week, but after a while, you still got a cracky window or something, you know the money, right? Air conditioning doesn't work. Heat doesn't work. That's called dysfunction. You can live in dysfunction for a long time, but it don't mean that you should. And I was not cool with getting beat down like this. I was absolutely ready to change. Now let's look at this retirement thing that we worked for in the equation. So when you think about it, would you guys say that the cost of living is going up or going down? It's going up. Now, Social Security and pensions, are they going up to keep up with that? So here's what that means. It means that when you retire, first of all, if you really do the math right now and ask yourself, if I lost 60% of my income, would I be happy? The answer is no. You wouldn't be happy probably. I wouldn't have been happy. And so then the thing is, inflation is where the cost of living goes up. So they're going to pay you enough to survive today, knowing that all you do is think about right now, but you ain't worried about tomorrow. And the real problem with that is 20, 30 years after you keep on living, those guys are gone and out of the office. And now you got an income that ain't working because the retirement income is like a flat line of a dead person's heartbeat. So your buying power decreases as you live. That's what you're relying on when you rely on Social Security and all that. And most people can't even really truly retire anymore. They end up Walmart greeting people and acting like they want to do it. So here's the thing, there's a difference in the cash flow and the income. I didn't know that either. All these years of college didn't know that. Coach Tony and Alice taught us that. Is that the income is where the income comes if you come, but when you leave, it stops. So it's equivalent to cutting the faucet on and then you cut the faucet off and then that's it. But a cash flow is something when you cut the faucet on and and you walk away and it's still running forever. So that's totally different, right? So it's where you have it coming forever, just continuing to come. When you're dead, it's still flowing. That's how you want your money to work. So how does a person out of high school, because remember we was all bamboozled, Jamil, in high school. We was told to go to school, make good grades, don't worry about nothing else. Is that right? Yeah. Then, all of a sudden, you get to 18 and they're like, go to school and get in debt. Go to the military or go get a job on the corner, but you're not going to stay here forever. So then now you gotta go worry about the school thing. That's what most people try to do. They go to school, wanna go and get in debt, right? And so, what do you think, Maureen? What do you think the average student loans is? What do you think? 30,000? Okay. Vicar, what do you think? 20,000 for a whole four-year career, four-year college? Okay. Paula, what do you think? You're a professor in college. What do you say?
Oh, it's 100,000.
Is average today, right? Yeah. And you ain't even got a house yet.
There
Nothing.
is some university or institution, but, on the low end, it's maybe 65,000. That's out of state school, but we looking at easy 100,000.
All day. And so that's what's happening, right? So how does a kid that's 18 with no cash flow or income learn how to create a positive cash flow when all they do is learn from people that have a negative cash flow? Meaning they learn how to make cash flow for everybody else but themselves. They learn how to create cash flow for the light bill, for the water bill, for car insurance, for car notes, and for mortgage companies. But they don't know how to create cash flow for themselves. How do you do that? Does anybody have an answer for that? You don't. You're right. And so here's what happens. You get a student loan for a degree to get a JOB, right? And then you start making payment plans on your job because you really couldn't afford to get it without being in debt. Then you get a car loan because somewhere between 22 and 25, that car you drove at 16 is not going to work anymore. You was in college for 4 years. You didn't have time to put $30,000 away to pay cash for a car. So you end up $30,000 for a car or more, or maybe $20,000 either way. Then you get a house somewhere between 25 and 35, not because you can afford it, but you can only afford the payments, right? And so now you're about negative $300,000 below broke. And that is what's happening in this situation. Oh yeah, and then don't forget about room zero credit card. You gotta have the household party and take it to make it, right? So you gotta have people come over and see that. And this is the people that become moms and dads. This is the people that become financial advisors and high school teachers and college professors and all that. And this is, they always tell their kids don't get in debt, but people do what they see, not what they hear. And so if that's all you've shown them, that's all they're gonna do. Now, you have another situation where you've got certain high-level professionals, athletes, rappers, and they have a positive cash flow. And what that looks like is money, but no time. And that's all me and Dakar was trying to do. We didn't realize it, but we weren't trying to be owners of an NFL team. We were trying to be players on an NFL team. And we had no idea about being an owner, but that's the real passive income in that case. So then you had another situation where we met Tony and Alice, and they had the 2%, they had the money and the time. And whoever invited you here tonight, guys, is connected to the mindset that has money and time together. So you gotta understand it's something you've never had. So you're gonna have to do things that you've never done in order to create that reality. So moving on, we're taught to go to school, get an education, get a good job, then take a degree, which takes about 42 years to pay off. Then we're taught to buy a car to go to work and pay for a car. Then we're taught to get a job so you can support a family. Then you spend most of your time living at work, away from the family, and working to support. And this is what's going on. That's the box. That's the societal box. If you want to get out of this societal box, you got to think outside the box. So our thinking is not going to agree with the current way you think. That's the reason why we had to read a book called Business of the 21st Century, to try to cause you to see it a little differently, because we want you to have 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. We don't want you to be Monday you're retired, Tuesday you're inside, Wednesday you're trying to hold on, Thursday you're trying to find your soul, Friday you're going to do your clothes, but Saturday you're on top of the world, Sunday nobody can tell you nothing, and oh my goodness, you got to go back and do it again. So, you got this is the situation here. As an employee or self-employed, they're focused on what you do, and it makes sense, because you're going to do it for a long time. 40, 60 years, you better like it if you're going to do it, right? But on the other side of the quadrant, we call that the right side of the quadrant, where you're a business owner investor, they're focused on how you live. Now, there's only 2 types of income. There's active income and passive. Active income means you have to act, perform, and show up to have an income. Passive income means you can pass out, pass away, and still have an income. That's that situation, okay? So there's 2 types of incomes. There's also 2 types of lifestyles. There's hard work, no security, no time, large debts, insufficient funds, stress. Or it's easy work, stability, spare time, no debt, plenty of money, free. Choose. Choose your heart. Okay? Now, 98% of the people on the left side of the quadrant are getting 2% of the wealth. Now, if that E represents the language of Spanish, tu habla español, then that's all you learn from mom and dad, from all your school teachers, from all your church members, from everybody in the neighborhood. If that's all you had to learn from, then that's what you're going to speak. So when Tony and I was telling us that, what we understood is that we're not employed, we were born to work for someone else. But that's just all we was exposed to. My mom and dad and my father's wife, mom and dad were also employees. Our teachers were employees, our professors were employees, our coaches were employees. So we became employees, real simple. Probably happened to you too. So, employee says, I want a safe, secure job, steady paycheck, good benefits, retirement. Self-employed says, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Nobody else can do it better than me. An investor says, I don't work for money, money works for me. Business owner says, teamwork makes the dream work, together everyone achieves more. That's that. And so Tony and Alex were right there as business owners. They had a team, had a system. They were part of the 2% of people that got 98% of the wealth of society. The wealth, not the money, the wealth. Wealth is having time, energy, and money. So you can make a lot of money, but we're talking about wealth here, right? So we wanted to listen to those people to get on this side of the quadrant, and that's what we decided to do. It just made sense. So the next display we're going to talk about is the cons of working with somebody else. You must ask permission to be off. And if you in this business team and think about the conferences, isn't that interesting every time, right? No retirement, bare bones retirement, 60% income loss, no system of duplication of self. You can't go away for 3 months and send your lookalike to work for you. You'll come back without a job. You have no growing income. You're just working. You can't pass your degrees down. When you're out, it's over with. Like, your kids got to start over every time. Why do we want to have, why have man been around so long, we keep on starting over? Self-employed, if you're not working, you're not earning. You have no system of duplication of self. And I have to show this to you guys, because all you've heard was the pros of working for somebody else. You never saw a bit of the cons of it. So we have to show you the cons. And that's the cons. So now we're going to talk about a B Quadrant business, and this is what we're helping you to develop. Okay? So B Quadrant business has an official name in the title. So you'll come up with that with your coach, whatever your business is called. My coach's business is called RBSI. Me and my wife's business is called Keys. You have a product or service for profit. That's how you know it's a legitimate business. It is duplicatable up to 500 or more outlets. Okay? It has a system of thought process and action methodology. It has an identifiable target market. And last but not least, it's operated by a team of employees or partners. So if you already think you have a business, but you don't have a team of employees working for you or partners, then that's one thing. Now, when you look at it like this, how many people really have the money to buy it, get a building, charge rent, pay utilities, and pay employees up front, a salary or wage, pay insurance? Who really has that going on? Versus getting into a partnership situation where everybody pays their own way as far as getting started. And for a price of a pair of Jordans, you can start that business because it's an e-commerce franchise business. That's what we have going on right now. So moving on to the next. And this thing right here is my thing. All right, business principle we're going to talk about here. This is super, super important. All the math classes that we ever took, and they never taught us this. I didn't get this in school. Financial independence is where your passive income is equal to, it's greater than your expenses. That's what financial independence is. So here's an example of that. Say you got $4,000 a month of passive income. Like you got like 8 rental properties where you're charging $500 a property. So that gives you about $4,000 a month of income. Now, you got $2,000 a month of expenses. So that means you're financially independent because your passive income, $4,000, is greater than the expenses. So you're financially independent, but you're not rich. Y'all clear on that? Now, here's the difference. Financial freedom is when your passive income is greater than your wildest dreams. That is when you are rich. And so that's a whole different thing. That's living a life of non-financial constraint. Now, here's what most people do. Most people are what you call making a living. And so making a living is where you have active income and it's equal to or greater than your expenses. And that's the formula for that. So if you're going back to school to do something, you're just going to get more active income, that's all. You're just going to learn from people who have active income, that's all. The only place that you really can get taught from people who have the passive income and the financial freedom, financial independence. I don't know about you, but for me, it was in this room. It was with Tony and Alex Rodriguez. It was with your coaches, your mentors, because they've developed a passive income stream. And eventually, you keep on building it up and it just keeps on going. So, oh yeah, we're going to do this thing. This is always fun. So, job life versus business life. And so you got to think, which one do you want to make a case for? 8 to 9 hours a day or 2 to 3 hours a day? Working for 40 to 60 years or working for 3 to 5 years? Working for a system, working to build a system to work for you. Pulling down others so you can see them and help them grow, do your own thing, or help others grow, help others fulfill their dreams as well as yours. Wait and hope for a raise, or be more productive, you can give yourself a raise. You know, you can either have a home that you visit and call a home, or you can, and living at work, or you can have a house that you actually call a home. You can pursue what you want, or you can compromise what you want. You can work for your dream, you can work for others. In this business life that we develop, this is the situation. It's either working for 40 to 60 years, ladies and gentlemen, or it's working for 3 to 5. You get a chance to choose which way you want that to flow. And that's that way. So this is another thing to make very clear as well. This is super important. A lot of us have been taught this, that academics is the key to success. And here's the truth about that. So if you go back to school to get any degree, you're going to get more academic success, check. You're going to get possibly occupational success, because it's not guaranteed just because you go back to school, get a piece of paper, you're going to actually have occupational success and move up the chain. Because it's a thing called relationships. Because if you don't have the right relationships, nobody likes you, you're not going to move up anyway. Y'all know that, right? So the bottom line is academic success is one thing, occupational success, which hopefully leads to financial success. Here's what you're not even talking about. It's called wealth success, time and money. And you can't get that in school where they don't teach time and money. So there's eight distinctions to success. Just because you got 4 degrees don't mean you got a six-pack. So fitness success is different than academic success and relationship success and all the same. So it's a totally different situation. So the next slide is probably we're gonna talk about the 7 pillars of wealth just a little bit. It's about having money, energy, and time. I know you guys saw the matrix. That's not how life has to go. You can absolutely have money, energy, and time. Money just gives you more choices. You got more choices when you go to the gas station with $50 than you do with $5. So more money is always better off in that case right there. It's about having time, which is a #1 commodity. It's about having people willing to work with you. It's about mobility, experiencing and traveling, mental mobility, upgrading the app in your brain, health, spiritual, physical, mental, love, loving others, others loving you, you loving them, you loving a higher power, that higher power loving you back. Credibility and character and money. Now, the thing is, everybody typically thinks of money as wealth, and it's absolutely not. It's a part of wealth. That's almost like saying the eyeball is the human being. It's a part of the human being. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Because if you look at it like, if you don't know what something looks like, you can't identify. Like when I saw Xavier in the parking lot, I knew. I said, "What's up, Xavier?" Because I know what he looked like. But if you don't know what something looks like, how can you get it? So if you never read the book, 7 Pillars of Wealth, you're 7,000 years behind. You know what I'm saying? So money, you can't have wealth without it. I want to be clear about that. Because you'll have these cliche people that will say, "Well, my health is my wealth." That rhymes. I'm a poet, I get it. But it still doesn't make sense. Because you cannot pay your bills with your six-pack. Send a screenshot to Georgia Power, find out. No, you can't. Right? But you need money to fit. If your credit's bad, it's because your money ain't right. If you want to fix your credit right now, you're going to need some money. If you want to get married, it's going to cost a wedding ring, it's going to cost some money. The wedding's going to cost some money. The honeymoon's going to cost some money. The baby's on the way going to cost some money. So you can't have wealth without money. Health insurance, you need. It costs money. Mental mobility college, costs money. Health insurance costs money. I think y'all get the point. Traveling costs money. So you can't really have wealth without money, but it's not the only thing. Because what's the point of sacrificing your health and then for wealth, and then you end up losing your health, and then you take your money and give it back, trying to restore your health? That doesn't make any sense. So there was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, #1 personal finance book of all time. And the subtitle says, "What the rich teach their kids about money that the poor middle class did not." If you don't get that part, you shouldn't even read the book. All right. His next book is Business of the 21st Century. That is his latest and greatest book, and it's amazing. And again, he's a multi-millionaire. Now, when I wrote my 6th book, guess what I was not? A multi-millionaire. So just because you write a book don't make you a wealthy person. So you may read all these books, but all books ain't equal. Just like you can eat all food, but all food ain't equal. So everything ain't good for your brain. So we have certified multi-millionaires that give us a book list to read from that said these are what's good for your brain. Same with everything you listen to. Everything you listen to is not good for your brain. It's not going to get you to your dreams. So you're part of a selection process. You're either in step 3 or you're in step 5. And so when you've been pulled out of the masses, the 95%, you've been pulled out of dormant potential, average relationships, individual relationships. You've pulled from the good life all the way over to the great life. Is that my time?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, cool. So, long story short, you go through this process. It's an equipping process. Our goal is to equip you with knowledge, expertise, so that you can become successful in this mentorship and coaching relationship and partnership. Because see, a lot of times things sound good, and you just want to jump into it, but the honeymoon phase runs away really quickly. And so we want to make sure that we're not going to business with people who just get excited about the honeymoon phase, but they're not ready for the marriage. Because the marriage is a commitment. And that's what we want. Everybody can go on a honeymoon. Nobody says there's a whole bunch of failed honeymoons, but it's a bunch of failed marriages. And so that's what we're looking for, is people who are willing to make it through this process and learn a little bit more. If you don't get to step 6, then you did not get all the information. If you go through step 6, that is when they're going to ask you, is this something that you want to do? You will not be asked that question before you get there, because how can you commit to something that you're not fully aware of? Wow. And so nobody's going to do that. So here's how it goes. You're making a living and you're a dream builder. The problem is you're a dream builder for someone else. Okay? So you have your time, energy, and expertise, and you take it to a job because you just consumed all that there. Then they give you money, and then you consume that because you're a consumer. Then you take your money to someone else's store, and you consume your money there. Then you get products, and you consume that, and you just keep doing that until you yourself are consumed by your job. So it's like you eating one thing and getting ate by another. And then this is what people do to make a living. What we're talking about is instead of taking your time, your money, your energy, your gas money, and going to the store, getting common consumable products, but getting sad face no money, why not take the same money, we call it your anyway money, become a prosumer. That means you produce income as you consume it, right? When people ask me, well, what do you do? Let me just go over that real quick. I'm an entrepreneur. And they say, well, what kind, let me tell you what that's like. That's like saying I'm an athlete or I'm a ball player. So I'm really finding out, are you really interested in what I do, or you just make a conversation? So then, of course, if I say I'm a ball player, I'm an athlete, then they can say, okay, what kind? And I'm either a football, baseball, or basketball player, right? So then I'm going to say, well, I'm a social entrepreneur. They say, oh, really? Well, what exactly do you do? I turn my household expenses to an income stream. I teach other people to do the same, and I create wealth like that. And then if they say, well, how does that work? We'll have to sit down and talk about it later. Because think about it. You turn your household expenses into an income stream. Raise your hand if you have household expenses. Raise your hand if you have living expenses. I see some people don't have household expenses. I'd love to see how you get. But the bottom line is, we all have that. Either you monetize it or you allow somebody else to do it. Somebody's monetizing your living expenses and your household expenses. It might as well be you, right? And then you're teaching others to do the same. You're creating wealth doing that. That's what we pretty much do. You shop at yourstore.com as a prosumer. You're getting a paycheck for doing so. Because there's always been a paycheck called profits made off of you. But now you're in a situation where you're going to get a chance to get some of that cheddar right there. Now, who are we in business with? What kind of companies would dare to work with us? All these companies would dare to give us 28% off, like Office Depot does, 28% off on their products. And there's a corporate company called Amway Corporation, and it's short for American Way. And they're the reason why this phenomenon happens. All these internet giants wanted to partner with Amway because Amway had such a vast network across the world of people. And so, exactly what is the deal with the online piece? There's something out there called take the trend and make it your friend. So we have something called Amazon.com when it decides to show it for us. And Amazon is America's largest online retailer, and we're going to get to that in a minute. As you can see, this is just a quick display here. All these stores are going out. So yeah, that's why they're afraid of that loss. So you look at Amazon, and it should be showing up in a second now. Amazon is America's largest online retailer, but they don't have any products on their own. Because me and Armando can put our products on there, right, Armando? Yes, sir. And we can make sales. Then you have Alibaba. Alibaba is the world's largest online retailer, but they don't have their own products because they leverage me and Xavier's products. They have Lyft and Uber, world's largest taxi company, but they don't actually have their own vehicles because they leverage me and Chandre's cars, like anybody, me and Shamel can do. And so then you got Facebook, and that's the world's largest social media platform, but they don't create no content of their own because we create the content. Airbnb, world's largest real estate company, they don't own any real estate because Dr. Atlas and myself and my wife, we can put properties on there and they leverage ours. So then you get down to it, where Amway is the world's largest social networking company in the world, but they don't own any networks because we provide the networks. And so it was brilliant. We're just doing what the big boys are doing. So a little bit about Amway. They're number one. They've been around since 1959. They're 35 on the Forbes list. They're in over 100 different countries. So if you wanted to travel or you know people abroad, you can have a business like that. They have a 6-month guarantee on all their products. Now they do all the things for us we don't want to do. They provide a compensation plan for us. They give us all expenses paid trips. They give us an automatic product delivery, so somebody can go to your .com website. It ain't Amway.com, by the way. They'll go to your specific website, make a purchase, a product to go from point A to point B, you get paid. That's how that works. Automated payouts, you get paid on the 15th and the 20th of the month. They provide for you a team of 15,000 customer sales agents that you don't even got to pay. And they work for you. And that's a really cool thing. Because it all kind of works together in the end. These are just a couple of the products. You can take a look at it. What we say in the business is we get paid to eat, drink, wipe, and wash and wear. Because that's essentially what you're doing is eating, drinking, wiping, washing, and wear. You're just using quality products. Get with your coach and they'll give you more information about the products we have. But you can't get them at Walmart or the dollar store. You can only get them from the network that we're in right now. And so, that was just a quick picture of all the different countries that they're in. Like I said, they're in over 100. And I'm going to keep on moving. Jackie, how am I doing on time so I can be there? I'm doing really good? All right, good. So, just to give you an idea of the model, to meet you in the middle, because we got to meet at common ground before we can take each other to higher ground, right? So, you got McDonald's, the headquarters. Ray Kroc founded them, and his family is now running everything because he passed away. He has money because they have money because they get money from all the different stores. They got time because they duplicated themselves. They got all these employees that work in the store. They got security because they got so many. So even if Georgia and North Carolina went underwater, it's called 48 other states. So they're gonna be fine, they're not tripping about that, right? They have a system called Hamburg University, located in Chicago, Illinois. Golden State Foods is a supplier for McDonald's. I never understood back in the day when I I moved all around the country as a kid. Michigan, California, Arizona, Georgia. How is it that the cheeseburgers taste the same? Thank you, sir. And so the way they taste the same is because they all have the same exact supplier. That's why. Golden State Foods. So that's why you go to Papa John's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars, and they don't taste the same. If that makes sense. So basically what's happening is duplication. As a franchisee, they're creating 98%. They get a chance to keep 98% at the franchisee level. They send back 2%. And when you got 37,000 plus stores, you're winning. 2% times 30,000% is a lot, right? So that's how they make wealth. This is the duplication at its best. So our model is very much like this. We are in the franchising business, and what's happening is you have Amway and all those partner stores you guys just saw, and you are a franchisor, and you grab money because you get a little bit of money from each franchise you open, which is a person's lifestyle, right? You have time because you have other people that are doing things for you, showing the plan, doing meetings for you, so you don't have to do it all by yourself. You have security because you have so many people, and the cool thing is everybody gets access to the same compensation plan. In the McDonald's situation, everybody does not have access to the same compensation plan. So you have BWW. That's where your mentorship and learning is. This is a BWW meeting. BWW provides your mentorship and your coaching and your training. Amway provides the compensation plan and the products and the delivery. IBO means independent business owners, for those who don't know. So you're converting your buying power and turning it to an income stream. You share it with other people, and what happens is either they decide to become a partner and make money with you, or they decide to become a customer. It could be either one. You make money with that either way. Now, when you look at it from the standpoint of share, we share things all the time on Facebook. We'll make money with it. We shared Black Panther was a great movie. We shared about the great massage place over here, or the great gym over there, but we don't make money with none of that. Now, because you're gonna share anyway. You're gonna shop anyway. You might as well make money. It just makes sense to me. You're gonna learn anyway. But do you want to learn about Beyonce and Jay-Z's life, or do you want to learn how to create love? So, you got a situation here where every $3 you spend, you get a point. Again, you're capitalizing on the fact that people eat, drink, whitewash, and that's never going to end. So, if you did 100 points, you're going to get a third of that back. So, you got $96 of income. When's the last time you got $96 from shopping? Xavier, when's the last time? Have you ever got $96 from shopping? So, something's better than that, isn't it? Now, the cool thing is, you share that with some other people. That's how you grow it. And now you've got outlets of you, right? And it's not like, it's showing this way on the screen, but it's like this. Like, this is how the network is. It expands out. Now you're making $222. Now they're making $96 a piece, all these folks right here. And then, what ends up happening after that is they share it with some people too, because nobody gets started in an entrepreneurial system for $96. They're going to want to keep it moving. So let me get to the next one if it'll allow me to do that at some point. So you want to get to the next level, which is 18%, right? So 2,500, now you're in a situation where you got at least 31 IBOs on your team. You're making about $1,200 a month. And each one of your first team members all have at least 4 partners in this situation right here. And it's a model that just continues to grow. And then what's going to happen is you have an unlimited capacity right here. 79 people on your team, you're making $3,200 a month. How many people will be excited about $3,200 a month? And I mean, there's more to the plan, but I got probably 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna end it with the next slide. Joaquin, am I right? I got about 5, yeah?
Oh, you're doing good at 7.
But it's 5, right? We good? 7? Okay. Well, here's the situation, guys. So, who has a calculator for me? Armando, you got a calculator? Okay, so check this out. I'm gonna show you something about creating an asset, because this is a different way of thinking. So, if you were to take $72,000, Armando, and if you could multiply that by 0.05%, can you tell us what that number is?
3,600.
Now, 3,600 or 36,000?
3,600.
So you took 72,000 and you multiplied it by 0.05?
You said 105.
Yeah, now with that, divide it by 12. And what you got? Because it's 12 plus 2. These are 300? Oh, okay. One more time. Let's do this. So let's say you got $720,000. All right? I want you to multiply it by 0.05%.
No, I appreciate that. I'm sorry. I see what you said. When you said 0.05, I thought you meant that $1,000.
It's okay. So $720,000. You got that? Times 0.05.
Yeah, 360.
360. Now divide that by 12. And loud, say what that number is.
30?
3.
300, exactly. So 720,000 times 0.05%. 0.05. It should be 36,000. And that's what the number comes when you divide it by 12, right? So basically what they're saying, guys, is when you take you'd have to have $720,000 in the bank, invested at 5% interest to make $3,000 of residual income in a month. So what I just showed you guys was equivalent to that. Now, working for somebody else and saving, how are we doing on having $720,000 in the bank that we can put in the bank and retire for $3,000? Versus a system where within 2 to 5 years, we can actually help you guys develop that income. So it's equivalent to having $720,000. Let's just say you don't hit the lottery. So this is a way of making that happen. There's a lot more money available, but this is different. So when we talk about platinum income making about $56,000 a year, understand that's totally different than $50,000 at your job. That is not the same at all. This is income where you can stay locked in the bathroom like a hobbit, and the income comes in every single month, right? Every single month. That's what you got here. We got at the emerald level, which ask your upline about this, $100,000 plus income of passive income, residual income. Diamonds make $500,000 and above. That's what we're talking about here, guys. So basically wrapping up, I'll let my wife close out and take the last 2 minutes there.
Bless you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, please give my husband another. I mean, this man right here, I am so proud of him. The genius that he is, just a bright, brilliant intellect, very dynamic personality. I'm not just saying that because he's my husband. He just really is a dynamic individual. So I just want to let you know publicly that I'm so very proud of you, and you did an awesome job. And so I just want to say, first of all, welcome, and then say Happy Pi Day to everyone. Did you guys know that today is Happy Pi Day? And for those of you who don't know about pi is a mathematical concept. And this is March 14th, 3/14. And so it is the annual celebration of this mathematical concept. And so the interesting thing about it is that I spent most of the day encouraging and inspiring young girls to embrace the STEM fields. This is a day that we take to bring light or shed light on the STEM field, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. So we want to encourage young girls to embrace these career paths so that they can be scientists, be doctors, be mathematicians and engineers, etc. And so I bring all of that up to say that, as my husband was talking, we are conditioned to pursue a career that will take care of us the rest of our lives. However, that is a great thing in one aspect. However, we have to also think globally and begin to think of other passive income streams that we can add to that. And so as I was talking to young girls, I was talking to them about a concept called the VUCA environment. When we talk about VUCA, really this is a term that was coined by the United States Army. And VUCA was coined back in the 1990s to describe the environment of the post-Cold War era. And VUCA stands for V, volatility, U, uncertainty, C, complexity, and A, ambiguity. And literally it describes the environment that we currently live in, meaning that disruption is constant. We're seeing, unstable waters in almost every sector. And so when you look at leaders from multiple sectors, they'll talk about living in a VUCA environment. And so translation, disruption is common in today's environment. Sub-translation is crazy out here in these 2019 streets, right? And so that means that healthcare is unstable, politics is unstable. When we look at the economic landscape, it's unstable. And so we see instability. We see a lot of fluctuations and different vicissitudes in different disciplines and different aspects of our society. And so what we thought was once stable, like a good job, a stable career, or a career as a doctor,
or engineer or scientist is no longer enough because of this VUCA environment that we live in. And so we have to think more globally. We have to think broader. We have to begin to think outside of the box and say, what will I do to shield myself from this VUCA environment that we're all living in? And so Sam gave a wonderful presentation regarding developing a passive income stream. I hope that you take it seriously. Because there are not a whole lot of passive income streams that are actually coupled with great mentorship. When it comes to mentorship, mentorship saves you a lot of mistakes. You can learn from other people's mistakes instead of committing all of them on your own. And so, when you have a system and a model such as the one that is engendered by the BWW system, you have an opportunity to be mentored, you have an opportunity to be coached, you have an opportunity to create wealth that will last from one generation to the next. And the interesting thing about it is that when you look at the leaders in this organization, the tendency is to be in awe, the tendency is to be inspired, the tendency is to think, wow, I want to do that one day. But the objective is for you to go further. You know, the law of discipleship says that the disciple should go further than the teacher. Jesus himself, with his disciples, they marveled at his ability to heal the sick. They marveled at his ability to cast out demons. And he said, you know, he told them basically that these and greater works shall we do. So marvel not at these miracles, marvel not at these breakthroughs, marvel not at the suspension of the occurrence of these extraordinary phenomena, because these and greater works shall we do. And so we're going to activate the law of discipleship. That meaning that anything you see here in the room, this collective genius in the room, you are supposed to go further if the law of discipleship is in full activation. And so, I want you to be inspired. I want you to get excited about your life, because you have an opportunity here that has within it that there's so many threads that are interwoven. You've got mentorship, you've got coaching, you've got passive income and wealth building, you've got legacy building, all rolled up into one. And so, with that said, I encourage you to get back with the person that invited you to the meeting and continue through the different steps of the process. It's absolutely worth it. And at the end of the day, even if you choose not to embrace this particular opportunity, you would have learned something. You would have expanded. You would have edified yourself, enriched yourself in a way that is uncommon. And it will allow you to continue to distinguish yourself among the great. Thank you.
So, closing out that, as it says, you must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. Some of you may be thinking, man, this looks like it may be hard, it's not easy. But it's hard to get rich in 4 years. It's also hard to take 4 days, 40. Choose your heart. And this is the last slide for you guys, okay? So this is a 2 to 5 year plan that we're telling you to get to wealth. We go to school for 4 years, and you don't have the possibility to create any income at all. In this business, you can actually do something for 4 years, learn something, and make money all along the way. We made a couple $1,000 last month, double thousands of dollars, so that's a really cool thing. So you're talking about just reading a book, you're talking about listening to audios, you're talking about exploring and learning more about our BWW system. That's all first choice is. Or you can do nothing, read nothing, listen to nothing, learn nothing more, take no further action from now on, take the red pill, choose it. Have a good night.
Everybody, let's clap it up for Sam Barbecue! Awesome! Great, that was amazing. Everybody say power couple. Guys, that's what you just saw. Share with you some information. And really quick, we're going to go ahead and do some quick takeaways. What I want to do, I want to get the first 3 powerful takeaways. So if I can get the first 3 hands in the room, and then we're going to bring up our Zoom host specialist, who's also going to give us some takeaways from the Zoom team.
A disciple should go further than the teacher.
Good stuff.